What's up YouTube, Tech All-Star here. And for all you newcomers, my channel is drifting and automotive content. So I'll be showcasing my progression as a driver, the things that I may encounter along the way, and eventually I'll be able to go toe-to-toe with the best of the best. So if that's something that interests you, you're more than welcome to stick around and enjoy the show. What's up YouTube, Tech All-Star here. And I apologize for the rain noise. Of course, it's raining right now. But I'm going to give you guys a quick update on what's been going on with the Mustang and what's new and what's to come, essentially. But I'm going to start with the issue that I was having some months prior. About 4 to 5 months ago, the car had this random sputter or misfire, and I wasn't sure what it was. I took it to my mechanic, and he determined that it was the cats. So I cut the cats off, but the issue still kept going. So come to find out, it actually wasn't the cats. We were thinking maybe it was exhaust leak or something like that. We're just scrambling trying to figure out, why does this car keep misfiring? Why everything I'm doing isn't really allowing it to run properly like it's used to. So eventually I ended up hitting up a local tuner. His name is Corey Schaefer. And actually I hit him up before about doing a tune on my car a while back. But I never really had the means of getting a tune just yet. Because you know I wanted to do like my 2018 intake manifold, which I've had for like 2 years now. I just haven't installed it. But I ended up taking it up to him. He said he doesn't do diagnostics, but lucky for me, you know, thank God I was able to get his help, and he was able to actually find out that the intake cam on bank 2, it wasn't actually moving according to the timing that the ECU was asking it to. So we was thinking maybe it was a cam phaser. I was like praying to God that it wasn't a cam phaser, because that's a huge process in itself. I ended up changing the cam position sensor, and the car did work for a little bit, and then the issue came back. So I came back up to him, and he ended up, and through this issue, I ended up getting a sponsorship through Sinister, which is a club, local club here that Corey Schaefer and several others run, you know, for the car community in this area. So he decided to sponsor me, so he gave me a great deal on the tune. He went ahead and tuned my car. So my car is actually a lot quicker now, and it revs much higher. And the reason why I got the car revving much higher is not necessarily for power reasons, because I still have the stock intake manifold on, so the power still dies off pretty soon. But it's mainly so that I can avoid hitting rev limiter too much, and so that I can gain more wheel speed when I'm drifting. Because in second gear I kind of top out my wheel speed pretty soon, and that's mainly because I do have the longer gearing in this car, which I think my car is a 3.55 gear ratio based on what I saw in the diff. I don't have new oil pump gears in this car just yet, but I do plan on getting some later this year in due time. Let me stop real quick so I can actually talk. So with that said, he tuned the car, and I have drifted the car a little bit with the tune, and we mainly focused on, we didn't focus on power, we focused on the drivability. So basically, the way he tuned the car is that when I step on the throttle, the car will essentially get into the power band a lot quicker, because these engines, the Coyote engine in general, depending on how you tune it, from the stock form for my car anyway, it seems the motor reminds me of a 4-cylinder or a turbo car, because the power is all up top. It's like right at the peak of the RPM range. So with that said, usually, just like last year during competition, if I allowed the RPMs to drop below 3,000 RPM, the car can't really pick itself up. So with the tune, he actually set it up to where it will gain power a lot sooner, and it also revs a little bit quicker, a lot more peppy, I guess you can say. And as well, I'm not gonna lie, even though I do have a stock intake manifold, I shift now at 7,500 instead of the 8,000, and I will say that the car actually does keep pulling all the way to like 7,500 or whatever the case may be. The car is way quicker, and in drift it cuts out a little bit more, so I have to modulate the throttle more than I usually would, because the car tends to want to over rotate, being that it can pick up more wheel speed. You know, shout out Corey Schaefer for helping me out with that, and shout out to Sinisterautoclub for helping me out as well, and you know, being one of my sponsors. So even with that said, I also have another big announcement that has came with the car. I've been talking to a guy that you've all probably seen on the internet, Instagram. His name is Jeff Williams. Hope I'm saying his name right, because I know he also goes by Taylor. So I've been talking to him about an angle kit that he had created for the Mustang about a year ago or so. We've been chit-chatting here and there, and he created for a Mustang that he ended up raffling away, and eventually he ended up creating another kit, testing it out on an older school S197 that he was converting to I think it was a 67 Mustang. He was doing a body swap on the S197 to a 1967 Mustang. So he created another kit, and then he actually ended up building me one for my car. And I'm gonna be testing out his first prototype kit very soon with the Mustang. So I'll say probably really soon on March 9th, March 9th, which would be Piedmont Drift. I'll be testing out this angle kit. And this angle kit is very different from the rest of them. Most of the other angle kits like FDF, Scotty D, or the Fun Haver kit, they convert the dual pivot setup that this car comes with, which is more of a BMW German style setup. They converted it back to the typical single pivot McPherson strut setup. And from my understanding, the reason why they do that is, one, to prevent binding of having two arms articulating as you turn, especially with high angle, and they do it to give you a better steering feel, a more natural, typical, I want to say typical, your traditional McPherson strut setup and feedback. But with his setup, which is something that had caught my eye in the beginning, because I was actually thinking about creating something similar to that, because I had noticed that some people were running an SPL setup, and with that setup they essentially have longer arms. They're E90 arms, but you can adjust the arms for caster or even for your track width. And I noticed even just taking out the tie rod and articulating the stock suspension by itself, you can actually, with the rear arm, you can actually get the wheel to turn as far as you want. Of course, it's without the tie rod. But your limiting factor will be the length of the arms, as far as how much angle you can get, because since the arms are set length, they're set for a certain amount of caster, a certain amount of track width. And once you kind of exceed that limit, you'll end up pretty much breaking the front arm, which would be your caster arm, because that one, it seemed to me that one was the one that was taking most of the load once you turn a certain amount. Versus the rear arm is kind of stationary, and the wheel will pivot, or the knuckle will pivot mainly around that arm, and the front arm will kind of have a virtual pivot point where it moves forward or backward based on how you're turning. And since the car has that virtual pivot point, what ends up happening, you'll end up gaining caster as the lead wheel turns, and you'll end up losing caster as the trail wheel turns. And that kind of gives you the characteristics of a high caster car, high KPI car, and the characteristics of a low KPI car / low caster car. So that'll give you the snappiness, which this car is pretty snappy. It'll give you the snappiness, but it'll also give you the low caster characteristics as well. So with his setup, he essentially changed the angle of the arms and the length of the arms to be able to get the articulation that he wants and the geometry that he wants from the suspension, to allow you to run the dual pivot, but also you can have the tremendous steering angle. So with that said, you still get the OEM caster characteristics, which is something that he wanted, and you get the insane amount of steering angle, or something that's really cool and different. Because I like to see something different. That's the whole reason why I got this car, is because there's so much negative stigma around the car, and the car is a little more of a challenge in some aspects. Every car has its own challenges, and shout out to you, Jeff, for being able to share your knowledge with me, and just sharing me everything that you're doing, and partnering up with me with this. So very soon we will have the Mustang Factory angle kit on this Mustang. We will be sponsored by the Mustang Factory, and we'll be testing out his prototype kit, and we'll go from there, see how we like it. Now his first version is going to be a cut knuckle setup, which is perfectly fine with. We're going to test it out at Piedmont and see how amazing it is, and I'll give you guys my feedback on how it feels and whether or not it's worth buying. And I guarantee you, I already know pretty much it will be. So that's pretty much it for the updates on the car. Oh yeah, as well, I also have stickers on the car, which is something that I drew up on the computer and cut out myself. And as well, I do these designs for my shirts. So if you guys want to support my journey with drifting, and I will be doing competition as well with this car, if you want to support me in my journey, be sure to check out my shirts and my hoodie designs on my website. It'll greatly help, and I appreciate you guys. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.